I know why it's not working. I do. I know why it hasn't been working for you. And I also know why people who know better haven't told you what you should be doing or that it's even a problem. Probably never even thought about it being as much of a problem as it is, but it is. It's probably more important than your dieting, your exercise. Yeah, I'm talking to you. The one who has been actively fit, working out regularly, getting in your recommended movement and exercise and muscle strengthening for the week. You who eat very well, watch your calories, eat healthy food. You may even be a very clean eater. Yet, it's not showing. The labs aren't looking better. The waistline isn't getting down to the size you expect it to be, at least not given how hard of an effort you've been putting into your health. And the fact of the matter is, you have been doing a good job. You just have one area that you need to address, and you need to address it expeditiously. You're not the only one. Many of us need to do the same thing. Listen, I'm about to school you on this now. But if you get this one last thing right, you will, in fact, be unstoppable when it comes to your health. Now, clock that. Hey, you guys. So, yes, we are going to talk about that one thing that is affecting a lot of Americans. And usually, when we talk about health issues, the finger pointing starts to happen, and the focus becomes those who are not eating as healthy as they should, and those who are not doing regular exercise as much as is recommended, which, just for your refresher, is 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise and 75 minutes of vigorous exercise and 2 to 3 days of muscle strengthening. That's the recommendation. And the fact of the matter is, many of you are actually meeting that criteria. Now, it's not everyone, but many of you are. And many of you are doing the hard work of being active. And the fact of the matter is, when you go back to the doctor's appointment, they will say, okay, well, you are exercising well and you are eating well. Keep doing what you're doing. But the problem is the numbers aren't changing fast enough, or in some cases, they're not changing at all. In fact, some things may be getting worse. And you're exhausted because you cannot fit in one more hour of exercise into your busy schedule. You can't hike up one more mountain. You can't run one more mile. You have maximized your workout regimen. You are eating as clean as you can, and it's costing you. So you're making sure that you are eating those fruits, those vegetables, getting your protein, and the rest of your macronutrients in adequate proportion. But there's one thing that we need to talk about. And that's what we're going to do today, because I'm going to give you that inside information that you've been missing. Now, the reason why your clinician probably haven't really addressed it is one, it can be overlooked. That's one reason. The second one is that they probably know that the fix of the problem doesn't really seem that practical, maybe to themselves, their own perspectives. And the truth of the matter is, the fix is a little bit impractical, but it's necessary. So why don't you pull up, have a seat, let's talk about it. Let's get that last item off your list. All those who are on this platform for the very first time, we are so excited to have you here today, and especially for this topic that we know whether you're in one country or another, whether you are a teenager or an older adult, this particular topic is important for everyone. And so I'm happy to have you here today, and hopefully I will be able to give you the information necessary to make the most important change when it comes to your health. I am Dr. T. I'm a board certified OBGYN, and I am also a health coach. And so I'm going to put my health coach hat on today, no pun intended. to give you that important information so that you can be truly now at your best health. We thank you that you find our topics to be informative. We do a lot of work to make sure we get you the information you need to live more healthy and fulfilling lives. Just a friendly reminder to go ahead and click subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and go ahead and click the notification bell so that you will be notified every time we drop a new episode. So let's get into our topic for today. Now, I want you to think about this. On a given day, how much time do you spend sitting, continuously sitting? Collectively, what does that look like? Are you sitting for half of the day? Are you sitting for maybe 6 hours out of the day, maybe 4 hours out of the day? Or, like many Americans, are you spending 8 or more hours sitting per day? Well, this is in fact a very key problem. And in fact, probably more of a problem than we even would like to acknowledge. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. The problem is prolonged sitting, which is considered to be more than 2 hours of continuous sitting with low energy expenditure, is one of the most common risk factors for poor health outcomes. That's right. Sitting, whether you are someone who works from home for full-time work, such as 14 to 15% of adult Americans do, or perhaps you're a child who spend most of your time in school during the daytime, and then in the evening time, you come home, you're doing your schoolwork, and perhaps you have an interest in STEM, so you may be doing some coding, I hope. But the problem is those prolonged hours of sitting is doing havoc to your health. And many people don't realize it because many of us are actually active. There is such a thing as the sitting disease, or perhaps it's one of the terms that we refer to when it comes to individuals who are having health outcomes, especially as a result of their prolonged sitting. Have you heard of the active sedentary? Yes. So when we think of sedentary, we're thinking of someone who is a couch potato, right? Someone who just sits on the couch, watches TV, watches, or is a gamer perhaps, or may even be a reader and spend lots of time sitting. And they are experiencing the outcomes of their sedentary lifestyle. So that's probably the lifestyle most people think about when they think about unhealthy lifestyles when it comes to movement. But one of the most overlooked lifestyle is the active sedentary lifestyle. Yes, I'm about to hurt your feelings. You're not as active as you need to be because of your prolonged sitting. Let me explain. So, what are examples of active sedentary? An active sedentary person may be someone who commutes to work for long time periods, and when they get to work, they utilize their lunch period to go for a 45-minute walk. It may be someone who has an 8 to 10 hour workday where they're at a desk job, and then they may even bike back and forth to work and meet their exercise requirements in the evening. Or it may be someone who's retired, who spends a lot of time doing sitting activities like reading or puzzles throughout the day. But they are also consistent with going for long walks on a daily basis. These are all examples of your active sedentary person. Now, why is this such a big deal? Let's talk about that part. So, sitting has a multitude of negative impacts on your health, from your physical health to your mental health. And the reason why is based on something I've shared before. Your muscle is actually pharmaceutical, and exercise is actually medicinal. Now, I did not coin that phrase. I cannot take credit for it, but I absolutely agree with it in so many ways. You see, when you're not active, your muscles relax, and it inhibits the production and use of enzymes such as lipoprotein lipase, which helps with the breakdown of fat. Now, if you're not active, the opposite happens where you start to store fat. And that fat storage have a multitude of adverse outcomes. In fact, did you know that prolonged sitting is considered to be as much of a health risk as smoking and obesity? And the fact of the matter is, many of us are already qualified in the categories of being overweight or obese. And so when you add prolonged sitting to an already unhealthy weight, or if you're a smoker, then it's double whammy. It's like being doubly obese or being doubly smoking because of the adverse outcomes that prolonged sitting has. As I mentioned, prolonged sitting impacts muscle function and impedes the breakdown of fats and sugars. Well, if you're not breaking down fats and sugars, then ultimately you're storing them. Lack of movement of your muscles also impairs specifically the optimization of the function of your insulin, your own innate insulin in your body. And so when you are less active, you are not utilizing your insulin well. And so it impairs the regulation of your sugars. In fact, scientists have found that even just 1 day of excessive sitting negatively impacts your body's response to insulin. In fact, those who sit the most have a 112% chance of developing type 2 diabetes. Prolonged sitting also impairs blood flow. And when there's impaired blood flow, that affects your heart health. People who sit for most of the day have a 54% increased risk of having a heart attack. And again, just as a reminder, prolonged sitting is more than 2 hours out of the day continuously sitting with low energy expenditure. I'm going to explain why I made that particular distinction. Now, what many people may not necessarily immediately associate with prolonged sitting are cancers. But the fact of the matter is, prolonged sitting is associated with the increased risk for a number of cancers, including lung, endometrial, which is uterine cancer, and colon cancer. Now, we have noticed a rise in certain types of cancers, like colon cancer is now becoming a leading cancer in adults under the age of 55. We also know that there has been a rise in non-smoking lung cancer among women. So, how much of an impact does prolonged sitting have on these cancer outcomes? I think it's definitely worth more study. Now, for many people, lower back pain is a common symptom. Lower back pain, and of course, many people are now struggling with the text neck. What is the text neck? You know, that continuous bending of the neck that increases the weight of your head and the load that your neck muscles have to bear for sometimes for very prolonged time periods. Well, definitely prolonged sitting results in pains and aches and strains and ultimately poor posture, affecting the integrity of your spinal column. Prolonged sitting also affects the strength of your muscles. If your muscles aren't being actively used, they will atrophy or become thin and weakened over time. Now, prolonged sitting, as I mentioned, impedes blood flow. And one of the ways that we limit our risk for developing blood clots, those are clots within your vasculature, is by movement. And this is especially important for those who are at increased risk for developing blood clots, like our pregnant women. Movement is extremely important. And while we do focus when it comes to pregnant women on traveling and making sure that they are ambulatory while they're traveling to minimize the development of blood clots, we don't really have the discussion often with pregnant women who work at home or pregnant women who have desk jobs and may be sitting for prolonged time periods throughout the day. That's a conversation we probably should be having more often. Now, blood clots, as you know, can be very dangerous. You can develop blood clots just about anywhere in the body, from the lungs to the brain to the heart. And as you can imagine, a clotted major vessel that impedes blood flow to vital organs can lead to very serious outcomes, including death. Now, let's talk about your brain health. Ever wonder why you may be a little foggy? Maybe it's not the perimenopause and maybe it's not the mom brain. It may be because of your prolonged sitting. So, optimized brain function, cognitive function is benefited by movement, and that movement helps us to have less brain fog. Mood disorders are also more common and more likely when we are not moving. And I'm not just talking about your routine exercise, which of course is very important. I'm talking about movement throughout the day as you complete your daily activities, whether you're working from home, whether you're retired, or whether you are in school. And so, for individuals who sit for prolonged hours throughout the day, they're more likely to experience anxiety and depression symptoms. Now, let's talk about how do we fix this problem from a practical perspective.
Oh, I've been waiting for this. Oh boy, I've been waiting for this.
As I have already explained, there are vast negative outcomes to your health if you are sitting for prolonged hours. Now, some people have said making sure that you have a desk that may give you the option of standing throughout the day. And it's important to note that standing while working may not be enough to protect you from the adverse outcomes of prolonged sitting. So while standing intermittently is helpful to cause improvement in blood flow and movement of your muscles, standing alone may not be enough. Studies have not shown that that is the case. And so simply just moving your desk up and down and sitting intermittently and standing intermittently may not be enough to be protective. What has been found to be protective is having brief walks throughout the day. So, for example, a 5-minute walk every 30 minutes. Let's talk from a practical perspective. Getting up when you're focused on a project or working on something that requires great concentration, it's hard to do. It's hard to get up every 20 to 30 minutes to move because some of us may feel like that breaks your concentration. It breaks your flow, especially if you're in a good flow. You may be an accountant and you're in that flow and you want to make sure you get those numbers right. And getting up every 30 minutes when you really got to focus on those numbers may be extremely disruptive. But we have all got to prioritize our movement because if this is the one last thing that we need to do to make sure we optimize our health is worth it. So, disruptive as it may be, it is necessary to be prioritized. And some people have used lower impact options to get some movement throughout the day. And some people may have desk cycling, stationary bikes underneath the desk, or may cycle in a way that they can continue to work. And those are great options. But as a reminder, cycling or using under the desk cycling does not replace your active exercise. So you still have to make sure that you are doing your exercise regimen in addition to that. But the cycling does help with the flow of blood. Now, while Columbia University has shown that an optimal regimen is a 5-minute walk every 30 minutes, and that that particular regimen is very effective in reducing blood sugar levels and avoiding those spike blood sugars throughout the day. It has been found that even just a 1-minute walk does have some benefit on your blood pressure control. And so consider, if not 5 minutes, at least 1 minute every 30 minutes at minimum. You will get some health benefits, but ideally, we want to do 5-minute walks every 30 minutes. Now, what if you're like me and you don't really have the spacing to do a 5-minute walk where you're working? Then another option is to do more intense workouts. So, for example, you may do better with 10 squats every 45 to 60 minutes. And it has been found that even doing 1 minute of half squats every 20 minutes significantly improves brain function. So perhaps you may not have time or the spacing to do your 5-minute walks, but you may have the opportunity to do 10 squats every 45 to 60 minutes. But the key is do something. And ultimately, the best option out of everything is to not sit for prolonged hours if possible. Now, while there has been significant increase in the amount of activities we do while sitting, whether we are scrolling on social media, whether we are reading books, and I hope we're still reading books, or whether we're working on puzzles, for those who are gamers, for those who have meetings that they do, for those who work on projects, for those who work with AI. There's lots of reasons why we sit for more time. And that amount of sitting just seems to be increasing the more technology we incorporate into our lives. So while technology has its benefits, it has increased the amount of time that we sit and indirectly has had negative impacts on our health. And there are other reasons why we won't get into on this particular talk. So perhaps you may be able to take a phone call standing and walking in your office. Perhaps you will walk to your colleagues or your coworker's office rather than calling their extension. Perhaps you may take the opportunity of standing intermittently throughout the day. It's not confirmed that it is enough, but it's something. Or you may find opportunities to make things inconvenient. So, walking to the copy room instead of asking someone to bring the paperwork to you. So, finding ways to stay active throughout the day to break up the monotony of prolonged sitting is probably the best option for you. But if that is not a practical option for you, then of course, make sure that you set that timer so that you are mindful of your activity throughout the day and can optimize your health by making sure you incorporate more movement and break up the prolonged sitting and reclining throughout the day. Drop us a comment. Let us know. Are you sitting for prolonged hours? Have you sat for more than 2 hours this week on any particular day? It's okay. Don't be ashamed. There is no shame in our game. I too sit for very long hours. So as I spoke with you, spoke to myself as well. And I have had to come up with strategies of being more active throughout the day. Because whether I'm working on patient notes, answering messages and labs and everything that comes with my job, my other job, as I'm doing right now, I'm sitting. And when I'm not doing that, I'm taking meetings, oftentimes virtually. And so there are a number of reasons why we all sit. And there is nothing to be ashamed of. It's just the time frame that we're living in. And this is the lifestyle that many of us have adopted, but we can make those changes. So let me know, not only are you sitting for prolonged time periods, but how do you counter it? What's your plan? What is one strategy you're going to incorporate to either break up the monotony of the sitting or to counter its effects? I hope this discussion has been helpful. I am encouraged that it's going to make the difference for many of you. And that alone makes me feel real good. So I am Dr. T, the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club right here on YouTube and healthybump.club on Instagram. I thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope this information has been helpful, but even more so that this information has been life-changing. Thank you for joining, and I hope to see you guys when the next episode. Let me get up. This is Dr. T, just a friendly reminder, don't forget to comment, like, and share, and go ahead, why not, click that subscribe button. Help us to get to the next 1,000 subscribers. We thank you guys for supporting.